What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here. So before we jump into this this amazing content that we've created for you today, whether you're watching this or listening to this, I wanted to just say a couple quick words. So first off, thank you so much for watching or listening, whether you're on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube. First off, thank you so much. You guys, by watching this channel, by sharing this channel, that's what makes this all possible. So number one, thank you so much for watching. Number two, if you have not done so already, please go to www.gsdmode.com. You can opt into our email list. We send out a lot of epic content. This will ensure that you don't miss any of these episodes or any of the free content that we push out. Also from the website, you can access all the content that we've ever created and that we continue to create, from our entrepreneur interviews, our real estate agent interviews, our health and fitness interviews, to our GSD knowledge rounds where I answer all the questions every single week that you guys send in, to leveling up with me, which is a episode I do every single week on the show. Also on there, you can purchase our GSD Mode apparel that we just got launched. So you go to www.gsdmode.com. You can purchase our t-shirts on there that are up for sale. And then I wanted to talk to you really quickly, if you're a real estate agent, about our 90-day mastery bootcamp. So on there, you can go to the products page. You can see our 90-day mastery bootcamp. There's a 15-minute video that explains it's an in-depth, hardcore 90-day program, 50-plus hours. It's not some pre-recorded videos that you watch. I mean, this is a live event, all done in a group setting through webinars. It's about 40 to 50 hours of content and is by far the most intense, extensive, effective, and most affordable coaching platform that exists in the industry, hands down. We have a very powerful money back guarantee with the program, so make sure you guys go check that out now. Again, thank you so much for watching. Make sure the way that we are able to continuously and always do these for free is by getting views, right? So make sure that you're watching, make sure that you're sharing, share it in your social media world, share this with anybody, this channel with anybody that you think or know may benefit from this. The more that you share it, the more views that we get will ensure that we're able to continuously do this for free, as well as continue to bring you more amazing content. So hope you enjoy the content you're about ready to listen to or watch. Have an epic day, and again, thank you so much for watching or listening. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview, where we interview top entrepreneurs, top health and fitness professionals, and people that just straight up dominate their space. So today, we've got an amazing guest on the show. I'm really, really stoked for today, because on the show, we interview badasses that dominate their space. So today on the show, we have a badass that actually coaches, trains, and teaches people to become uber badasses. This is one of the best entrepreneur trainers in the game, helping them develop their brand and really dominate their space. So our guest on the show today, Amber Hurdle. She used her experience working with international celebrities and Fortune 500 companies to show small business owners really how to play big in this world. As a communication and engagement expert, Amber helps entrepreneurs identify what they want to be known for so they can strategically tell their stories, grow their tribes, and ultimately fulfill their calling. So first off, Amber, welcome to the show. Honored to have you here. It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. The badass in me bows to the badass in you.
Love it, love it, love it. So first off, I got to know, before we dive into a lot of this, because I've got a lot of questions. The vast majority of our listeners are entrepreneurs. And I'm sure that you see a lot of mistakes that people make, right out the gate, right? So we'll get into that heavily. But, man, I'm really intrigued to how you got into the space that you're in. I mean, let's give us a little idea of what your journey's been like, how you got involved in what you're doing today.
Yeah, if we could get in the Wayback Machine, for several years, I knew that there was something that I was supposed to do, just kind of like one of those little gut things. And I couldn't put my finger on it. And then I moved and time had passed and I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm just, hearing voices in my head, whatever, which I totally would accept. But long story short, I just got into a point in life where I was very, very corporate. I was working 60, sometimes 70 hours a week. I happened to work for the largest Marriott hotel in the world, Gaylord Opryland. So I literally would spend the night at work sometimes because we had rooms, obviously. And unfortunately, my father-in-law, whom I adored, got really super sick. And my husband had to take over the family company, which is in Georgia, and we're in Nashville. So obviously, it was not conducive to our family life for him to be gone all the time and me to be working 70 hours a week. It just wasn't going to work. So I loved my job. I loved Gaylord. In fact, I'm having lunch with the GM today. But I just had to sit back and honestly go through the process that I teach my clients is like, what am I going to do? Like, if I can't do this, that what I love, communication and engagement, then what can I do with my talent? So I started following my breadcrumbs. I started, thinking, okay, if you can strip away all the bullshit from my job, like what would I hang on to that I love most? And that was really coaching both the senior leadership and then all of the kind of like director level and above on how to become better leaders. Well, some of them become better leaders. The senior leadership, it was more like I was their internal PR person. So shaping their identity within the organization so that they could have more influence and people would buy their chili. I mean, to be quite honest. So I wanted to become a hardcore executive coach. So I went to coaching school and I remember saying, I don't want to be known as a life coach. I mean, no butterflies and fairies for me. And the owner told me, he was like, Amber, all coaching is life coaching. I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to be an executive coach. And I've come to realize all coaching is life coaching. So I do work with executives in Fortune 500 companies. I do speak, and I have a whole leadership program that I teach because I still love corporate. I still love how people position themselves within that environment. But I also really, really love the whole entrepreneurial experience and have been a successful entrepreneur many times over myself. And so helping people, especially in such a niche society that we're in now, helping them identify who they are and what they want to be known for, like from the inside out. None of this bullshit, what does your ICA want? Like whatever, you have to start inside first and discover, what do I offer this world? What do I want to do? And then go from there.
Yeah, so before we get into, because I've got a lot of questions of how do you identify that with entrepreneurs, kind of how do you take them through that path? How did you do it with yourself, though? You know, how did you reflect on yourself and answer those questions and come to that with yourself? You know, because I'm sure that was quite the internal journey taking place.
Oh, it is so painful. So, I mean, if you're out there and you're struggling, like I teach this and sometimes I still struggle. I did a lot of reach out exercises. So I reached out to other people in my life through different stages of my life and said, okay, what did you take away from me? Like, because I've been a personal trainer. I mean, I've done so many different things. And so I got that feedback and I started like finding, okay, where are the common denominators here? People all say these things about me. And then I started really looking inward, like follow the breadcrumbs, like I like to say. What is it historically that I've loved to do? I mean, honestly, if I could party for a living, that's totally what I would do. But that's not exact, unless you're like Paris Hilton or Kim Kardashian, I don't think you get paid to do that and you can go down a bad path anyways. But I mean, I technically did party for a living because I was an event planner. So what was it about that I liked so much? Was it really the party, or was it the strategic planning and the bringing people in and the telling the story? Like, what was the party about? And so I had to just dig super deep and figure out if I could just extract the one or two things that I really loved about each of these experiences in my professional history, what would that be? And it all came back to communication and engagement. And so I teach people, okay, you have to communicate your story or nobody's going to, be interested in you and they're going to be bored and you're just going to be like everybody else. Like, what is your unique story? And then the engagement factor is, if you don't understand yourself and if you don't truly get what makes you tick and what you have to offer the world, you can't figure out how to pull in your key stakeholders to make sure that you've got the team around you to be successful or to know that you can influence people to help grow your messaging or your reach or whatever. And it sounds very quid pro quo, and it's not. I mean, I don't have a network because I want them to all like get on board with Amber and do things for me. But life's just easier when you have Team Amber behind you. You just can't go cowboy in this world. It just doesn't work.
So, I find a lot of people that when they switch from corporate America and become an entrepreneur, they want to go on their own. And I for example, one of my businesses, and this is kind of how I got started in entrepreneurship, was I got into real estate. And I was a realtor, and I was a great realtor. But then it got to the point where I was so busy, I had to start hiring people and have realtors work for me. And then what I realized is I was an awesome realtor. I was a very, very shitty entrepreneur. and the entrepreneurial world really delivered, school of hard knocks, whatever you want to call it beat the hell out of me. And I learned some very quick life lessons there. What were some of the biggest struggles when you transitioned? Because you're really good at what you do, right? You've got this brilliant, this gift, whatever you want to call it. You're really good at it. But now you got to be really good at that. And you also have to be a really good entrepreneur business person. So what were maybe some of the struggles? Because a lot of our listeners are in corporate world right now that are using the show for inspiration and tactics to make that transition. I mean, so what are maybe the struggles that you had to overcome with that transition?
My number one struggle was indeed working without a team for two reasons. One, I'm a collaborative person. And so I would, and I worked in a creative space doing communications and events. So my team would come in and we would brainstorm, and we'd have dance parties. I literally had a disco ball on my desk, and we would turn off the lights and turn on some like techno music or dubstep or something, and we would just break it down in the middle of my office and be like, okay, now let's talk about our meeting, because we just needed that energy to keep pushing, So not having somebody in my office, I'd be like, well, what do you think, Amber? Well, I think that's a fine idea. It wasn't the same. And then the second thing is, as I advanced throughout my career, and I flip-flopped between entrepreneur and corporate. So, I've done both on and off. Probably will never go back to corporate now. Who knows? But probably never. Just being able to delegate. Like, I got to stick to my jam. Like, I got to do what I was great at. And then the things that I wasn't great at, I had people around me who either reported to me or they were, maybe in a different department, but what I did impacted them, so they were willing to support me. And when it's just you, yourself, and you, it doesn't work that way. So that's really when I got into figuring out, I met Chris Ducker. I don't know if you know him, but he's with Virtual Staff Finder and chrisducker.com, and learned about the process of virtual assistants and started kind of getting into delegating tasks, not necessarily having a full-time assistant, but figuring out, okay, I could get on Odesk or whatever it's called now, they've merged. And that helped tremendously. But before I broke through that thing, it was just overwhelming to think, like, I'm trying to do this business at the level that I expect because I am type A. All those things. And, I came out of an organization which was, we got measured on a scale of 1 to 5. It wasn't 5, you failed. Like, it's like Ricky Bobby. If you ain't first, you're last. Like, give it up. So coming out of that and not having a team to help me aspire for that excellence it was tough.
Now, did you find it tough, though, when you started growing your team? Because I find a lot of people have, trust equals capacity. And us as just human beings, we have such a difficult time, at least in the beginning, learning to let go and let people handle those tasks. Did you struggle with that, or were you just kind of like, boom, nope, let's rock and roll?
I've always kind of taught leadership, and I was a coach to my team. Like, it was a big deal for me to always watch my team progress and grow, and maybe even grow out of my department. I always wanted to see them, move on up in their careers. So no, I would say though, with my main assistant, sometimes just because of time difference and, she's in the Philippines and I'm, here in the States, sometimes my communication could probably be better to keep her fully looped in. So that was kind of an ongoing struggle. But other than that, I think everybody needs to learn leadership skills, especially in entrepreneur land, even if you're a solopreneur and you might have a few vendors, or even with your clients. Like, if you don't understand how to lead your clients are going to lead you, and then you may as well just go back to work for somebody.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. So when it comes to working with your clients, you talked about figure out what you offer the world. When you start reflecting, you're like, okay, what is my gift that I offer the world? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of, I like to work hard. I'm passionate about this, but I'm kind of like deep down, somebody's thinking like I'm an average person. Like, what? I don't really have a gift to offer the world. And of course they do. We all have a gift to offer the world. And you mentioned, I think it was really cool that you mentioned you started reaching out to people, because sometimes we don't see what they see.
Oh, yeah.
And I know this is hours and hours and hours of processing, and this is why people employ you to help them find this. But what are maybe some quick tips for some of the listeners out there of a way to go out there and do that? How can they start finding their gift of what they can do to offer the world?
Well, first you need to stick to your jam. I mean, that's like number one. If you have never managed somebody's social media before, do not start a business where you're going to be a social media coach or expert. Like, just stop the bullshit. Like, I'm so past seeing people who have not a lick of experience get into something and then start claiming themselves to be an expert. So what are you inherently good at? Like, what were you good at as a kid? What were you good at in high school? What have you been great at in your job? And that might not even be like what your actual job was. Maybe you were like a bean counter. I don't know, but everybody always looked to you for, the team potlucks or whatever. So what consistently can you say, man, I really love doing it. I was very, very passionate about that, and it really didn't feel like work. That's the first thing. The second thing is know your unique selling proposition. And, that's kind of like lingo or whatever, but what makes you special? Like, why would you hire me as opposed to hiring the 9 bajillion other coaches out there? I'm going to shoot you straight. I don't sugarcoat things, but I'm going to love you through it. And I really like working with type A personalities. So if you want a cheerleader and somebody to like pet you and be like, oh, well, you didn't get your homework done this week, but you're a great person, butterflies and rainbows. That's not me. But if you want someone to like really sit down and figure out why the hell you didn't do what you're supposed to do, you're going to want me. So that's my unique thing. I mean, it's like you're obviously not your average real estate agent, podcaster. I mean, you're not the average anything, which is why I was very excited to be on your show. I'm like, getting shit done, that's me. And you want people to say, when they look at you, you want them to immediately say, no, that's not for me, or yes, that's for me. So you have to understand what makes you special. And there's something different about you. It could just be how you dress. It could be how you talk. It could be that, like for me, I had a kid when I was 16 years old, and I have this badass life now. So go find another coach who hasn't had that life experience, because they can't take that from me. And then I think a very important part, which a lot of female entrepreneurs honestly I don't think they get sometimes, is you have to plan to profit. Like, can you take your passion and your skills and make money at it? Like, some people want to be, if I hear the word goddess one more time, and I don't mean to take away from anybody who has goddess in their brand name, but like, I'm going to be a coach who wants to help women find the inner goddess within them. What the hell does that even mean? Like, you're really going to try to make money at that? Like, that's not the thing. Like, what's the impact? What is the transition that your clients, whether that is social media, like, are they going to grow their reach? Are they going to grow their brand? Are you going to promise them more business? Are you going to get them more money? Like, are you going to get them more clients? If you want to bring out somebody's inner goddess, good for you. But what does that mean in the end? Are they going to have better relationships? Are they going to make more money? Are they going to have less limiting beliefs? Are they going to believe in themselves more? Like, what is the impact? If you can't figure out why somebody is going to separate from their money and give it to you, you don't have a business. And then I talk about a business mojo, just finding your North Star. Like, what's your passion? How do you make your money? And what makes you different, all in one. If you can find that middle part where all those 3 things overlap, then that's your business. It's really not as hard as we make it. And I think the last thing I want to say, and I know I've been rambling and up on my soapbox, but it's okay to get it wrong. Like, I thought I was going to be a hardcore executive coach and only work in corporate. And I did one little thing because I felt like I needed to give back to my community. And I saw how many of the small businesses here just really didn't have their poop in a group. So I did a one-day event, and then suddenly I was known as a business coach. I was like, oh, okay. And so then I decided I want to do both. Like, I niched down in both, but you just have to stumble your way into it. Business is a petri dish, and you don't just wake up one day and get the formula right. Like, you have to keep trying and take action, learn from your mistakes, and then go from there. That was a really long answer.
No, I love it. And I mean, I love a lot of what you said in there. And I think one of the important things for everybody to note is you're going to fail exponentially more times than you typically succeed, right? And that's why I love studying the greats. If you go out there and you study the greats, your Edisons, Steve Jobs, who I mean, the list goes on and on. They failed so many times, but those are your best growth moments. That's who truly, how you truly become defined as a person. When you talked about reaching out to others, yes. Because you don't want to reach out to everybody, right? You don't want to reach out to everybody just because they're in your circle, they're your butt. Because if it's a great friend, they're just going to tell you stuff to make you feel good. You know, I mean, who do you look to reach out? I mean, who are the people in people's lives, the influencers in their lives that they should look to reach out to get some of that feedback from?
I encourage them to reach out to people in various aspects of their life, because you want to see the common threads across all areas of your life. Because sometimes we show up a little bit differently to work than we might to our volunteer organization or to our families. So I usually say pick some family members, pick some friends, like your good friends that have been in your head. Pick a former boss or maybe a former employee, people that you volunteer time with, people from church, whatever your different worlds are. You want to have a couple from each. And I typically say, because I actually give them questions that they can, copy and paste into an email and send. You want to ask about 15 to 20 because, people are busy. So you want to say, can I get this back in 3 days, so that people have some kind of a timeline? And you might get half of them back. So you want enough data to be able to pull from so that you have some consistency.
Yep. Cool. Okay. So then you talk a lot about, get out there and tell your story to the world. Right? You always got to be telling your story. What story do you tell? How do you tell it? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So one of the exercises I do with my clients and in some of my group coaching is, pick 5 of your stories. So, a lot of people are hesitant to tell the same story over and over again, but I'm like, hey, guess what? Nobody's paying attention to you that much. Like, you need to repeat your stories. So, what unique stories from your life, from your career, could be case studies, whatever, make people believe what you want them to believe about you. So, one of my stories is obviously I had a kid when I was 16, and, long story short, I have a badass life now. So obviously there's a story of overcoming in that. So that's one that I tell a lot, because the women and men, I actually have more male clients than female right now, they need to hear that story so that they can say, oh, I need that girl. She's got enough chutzpah to deal with me, because I've got a whole pile of poo over here I'm dealing with. So I'm trying to think of a good client example. Well, we could even just talk about our friend Aaron Pearson. Aaron's got some great stories, and the number one, I think, is just his extreme passion for design and the why behind it. And I know he's kind of moved on to bigger and better things, but if you go to his About page and you listen to his story on his video, it's compelling. Like, you're like, I don't want anybody in the world to touch my brand except for Aaron Pearson, because he totally gets it. Like, he talks more about why culture is branding, and it's not your stupid logo. So to me, if I'm thinking bigger than, just being an entrepreneur who wants a logo made, I'm not going to hire Aaron. I'm going to hire Aaron to come up with the whole branding direction that I want to go.
Now, would you encourage your clients and other people out there to, some of their stories maybe be some of not the, because people want to go out there and paint this picture like it's, their life's been so epic. But then a lot of people can't correlate. I mean, do you recommend that, hey, some of those stories should be the lowest lows that you've had, so people can relate with you? I mean, do you feel you should get deep into that within your stories?
If you don't show vulnerability, nobody gives a damn. Like, that's it. Like, if it's all roses and, happiness all the time, then they don't see where they fit into that story, because the trick is, yourself, you tell your story so people start believing consistent things about you. And then you take those people and then you pull them into your story. And so, for example, I'm working with a client right now. She's working with her, she's putting her signature program together. And the first thing I told her is, I love, you gave a baseline in each chapter. You gave a baseline of what we're doing here. You told your story. I was so sucked into her story because I related to it. And then she turned it on me. Then she started asking questions of, how does this apply to you? When you do this, how do you respond? How do you think you should respond better? I'm pulling this out of my ass, but if you can't turn it around and invite people to then participate in the growth, the change, it's just like any story, right? You have conflict, and then you have resolution. That's a story. Bring people into that. But if you don't show when the downtime is, how do you have the resolution and the happily ever after at the end?
Right, absolutely. And okay, so 2015, things are always changing. How do you get out there and tell your story today? Because it's probably not enough just to put it on some website and hope that SEO happens, right?
Oh my gosh, yes, thank you. I'm known for and a big fan of combining online and offline strategies, because sometimes you get people and they just want to sit behind their computer and hope for the best. And I'm like, okay, well, do you have people in your normal life, like real people that you can touch? Because that might be a good place to start. To really get started online, yeah, you can do Facebook ads. I mean, you can build your list. There's 9,000 different ways to do that. But what if you reached out into your own community and started to get some case studies and started to get some like real legit testimonials? And then you have people tweeting about you and your program or your offerings, or whatever it is that they bought from you. Now you can retweet that and people online start noticing you. So you start merging those two worlds. Social media is great. You can't hide behind it, and you really have to have a purpose. Like, what am I doing here? Am I trying to drive traffic back to my website? Am I trying to build my list? Like, what's the point? And I think a lot of people just get lost in the busyness of doing online business, and they don't have like the long-term strategy, like the impact. I mean, that's everything should always have an impact. If you don't have a reason for doing what you're doing, you need to just stop. So, I mean, I think there's three ways that you market your business. There's it's very proactive. I'm getting out there. It could be direct mail. It could be advertising on Facebook. Then there's keep in touch strategy. So that's like your newsletter. That could be, just a variety of things. And then there's just passive marketing. So that's your website. That's your business card. People actually come to you for that. And so you have to have those three things in place, most of your time and attention, of course, in the active strategies in order to really be able to turn a profit. But I can say I have barely done anything this summer. I've literally taken the summer off except for my existing clients. And I have gotten more clients. My list has grown, and I really haven't suffered at all. But why? Because I've been consistent in all of this, like the entire time, in all of those three categories. So, you can put it on autopilot.
It's kind of like pumping a well, right? Like in the beginning, you're pumping, nothing's coming out. Then a little bit comes out, and then eventually it's a good flow, and you're not having to pump near as hard.
I'm so ripping you off on that one.
It's Picasso's quote, right? Good artists copy, great artists steal. So I stole that from Darren Hardy's Compound Effect book. So he's, steal away. Okay, so then you talk about building your tribe, and you're working with high-end executives. You're working with celebrities. I mean, you're working with big, massive names out there to help them build up their brand, what they stand for. So you start building this tribe. You're getting out there. You're telling your story. You're putting out on social media. Now you've got the tribe followers, really what do you want to call it? People that enjoy what you're putting out there, that become fans. How important is it to engage with them, respond with them? I mean, how do you start doing that?
Oh, it's so important. So, I mean, in a corporate environment, I encourage people to find, and people hate this word in entrepreneur land, but I like it, and I'm going to keep using it, and it's my business, so I can do what I want to. But key stakeholders, like, who are your key stakeholders? I usually get people to pick 5. So that could be their immediate supervisor. It could be somebody in another department that really impacts the decision making and what they're doing. It could be like their number 1 employee if they have many. It could be just their ally, friend, buddy out there. Once you pick who those people are, and then with small business, that could be people within your own organizations. It could be a strategic alliance that you have. It could be somebody that you're working on a particular project with. And then you need to figure out, okay, every time I make a decision, or if I'm making a significant decision about my business or about the project, if we're talking corporate, how does this impact my key stakeholders? If it is going to potentially negatively affect them, we need to pull them in, get their buy-in, et cetera. Most of the time in small business, that's not the issue. Most of the time in small business is that you need their help. So I'm a part of a mastermind. I've been a part of several masterminds, but this one definitely the longest. And because those people have continuously poured into me, and they've put deposits into my bank account, when they come and they want to withdraw, I'm like, how much do I write the check for? Because that give and take is so important. So I probably went around the world to say this, but if you expect people to help you move forward in your business, then you need to start looking at, who am I going to invest in first? And that's probably one of the biggest mistakes, especially with young male entrepreneurs that I see, is they get really excited about what they're doing and they think everybody gives a damn, and they don't because nobody knows you. Nobody knows what you're trying to do. They haven't seen that you're willing to be of service to anybody, and they just start asking for all these favors. I mean, it cracks me up. My biggest pet peeve in social media is getting a direct message from somebody that I just followed, and the first thing that they want to do is sell me on something, get me to like their Facebook page, download their BS, whatever. And I'm like, I don't even know who you are. Like, delete, you know?
Yep. Nope, for sure. All right. So you talked about, okay, you used to be you were a personal trainer for some time. Right. And I'm a huge believer in health. And coming from a guy that used to be obese, lost 118 pounds. And I know that the impact that it's had. And I find that there's a direct correlation. Even, Richard Branson at one point was asked, what's the number one piece of advice you'd give to any entrepreneur? He says, work out, right? Like
yep.
It's so critical. How important do you feel health is to your life, with your business, with any entrepreneur? I mean, we have to have a certain amount of energy to accomplish what we want to accomplish in this world.
It's everything. I mean, it is so important. If you don't have your head screwed on straight, then like you cannot handle the absurdity of doing small business in the new business era. I mean, it's really a dynamic and ever evolving, ever changing. I mean, we are in the wild, wild west right now of business. And so, I do find it very important to exercise. I have a personal trainer. What's up, Tia? She kicks my butt all the time. I swim for 45 minutes, definitely get that heart rate up, get those endorphins pumping, definitely meditation. Yoga is very, very important to me. I am certified paper ADD. I'm also a type A personality. So if I don't have that time to just really dial it down 1,200 notches, then I can really just overthink things all of the time. And, I'm definitely not a woo-woo kind of person, but I get regular massages and I have Reiki done. And sometimes I'll just go into my Reiki practitioner and be like, I don't know what's off, but my energy's off. And she just kind of does her little healing thing on me. And then I leave and, I can write 20,000 more words in my book. So I don't know why it works. It just does. But if you don't put your body first, the owner of the gym that I used to work at said this. She said, if you treated your body like you would treat a car, if you got it when you were 16 years old and told you were never getting another car, what does that look like?
Right.
We trash our bodies, and I've trashed my body. I mean, that's a whole other book I can write, but it starts with your head, and it starts with your health. And if those foundational things like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, those foundational things aren't there, you can't build a strong house on it.
So we kind of hit on health, and then you said it starts with your head. So, and of course, as a coach, you're probably always having to immerse yourself in knowledge, so then you can transfer that value to coaching clients and stay on top of it. But what does self-development look like for you personally?
Constant. I mean, if you looked at my at my P&L from previous years, I spend more money on personal development than anything else, and that's for a couple of reasons. One, because I can, and so why not continue to try to evolve? We're always becoming; we never get there. And I think that's like so super rad that that's how it is. And then also it just goes back to that kind of whole pouring into my bucket versus pouring into other people. When I'm investing in other people and I'm in the game with them and I'm playing it next to them as their coach, that takes a lot of out of me. And I'm also just kind of a giver anyways. Like I love serving other people. And so if I don't have a way to really strengthen from within, then I don't have anything to give anybody.
Right. Yep. So when you're doing your self-development, are these, do you attending a conferences or one-on-one coaching? I mean, what does that kind of look like? Just elaborate quickly.
Yes.
So all of the above?
One-on-one coaching. I do go to conferences. I'm usually taking some kind of a program or reading a book or all of the above. And it's easy too to get program addicted, but I'm a just-in-time learner. So if I want to learn how to use Scrivener, I buy a Scrivener course and I figure out how to do that. If I feel like maybe I'm getting a little too anxious, then I might read a book about balance or that sort of thing.
All right, awesome. So what do you do to goal set? Like, what do you do personally to goal set to I mean, is this stuff that you're paying attention to daily, weekly, monthly to make sure that you're on target?
Yeah, so I follow the WIG system, the Wildly Important Goals, and it basically says you can't have more than 3 big goals, or you're going to be doing too many different things. You're not going to make anything important. So I set my goals usually October, November of the year prior, and then each week I evaluate my lead measures, because once you have your big goals, you break down by X to Y by when. So you have a deadline of all these little mini things that have to happen in order for you to hit that main goal. I share those with my coach. I have, again, my mastermind. We were meeting monthly to assess each other's WIGs, but sometimes you get new data and you have to adjust those. And a few of those, one in particular, I adjusted significantly for myself, but I'm still following along with the other ones. And I'm pretty self-motivated, so and I'm a planning Nazi, so that's an easy thing for me to do, and something that I definitely find missing with a lot of entrepreneurs who like to go down rabbit holes.
Yep. No, dig it. Well, success is in planning, so there's probably nothing better than being a planning Nazi, right? So,
yeah.
And I know time's tight, and I know you got an appointment to head to. So, just a couple quick questions. But before we get into those, how do our listeners reach out to you? If people want to learn more about you, get some information on your services, the coaching that you offer, if they want to go out there and develop their brand and make that, how do they get a hold of you?
Just go to amberhurdle.com. All of my social media is at the bottom. There's different contact opportunities on my website. You can certainly download my clarity and plan for clarity and profit. It's free. I'm not a spammer. You can email me at amber@amberhurdle.com. I am super social on social media, so I do respond. I'm not too important for anybody, and I'd love to hear from anybody. I mean, if what we talked about today, or the thing this cool cat's doing in his podcast, talk to you, free 30-minute coaching consultation, and I will tell you straight up if you're not ready for coaching, and I'll tell you straight up if you're not a good client for me. So there is no hard sell in Amber's world.
Yep. No, awesome. I love it. All right. So if you had to start all over, right? Like, let's just say something happens, you get wiped out financially, right? Like you're starting all over, but you've gained, you've got this PhD that you have in your mind. You retain everything that you've learned going through all of this journey that you've been through. What are the first couple things, 2-3 things that you'd go out there to do immediately to start rebuilding your brand and really regrowing this empire that you've grown?
Yeah, so I would do exactly what I did the first time. I would host an event. I think that when you get people in the same room, belly to belly, it's very powerful. I would recruit friends to help me sell tickets to that event. I would keep the cost reasonable, because people don't know who the heck I am, and it needs to be a safe bet for them. And then I would just over deliver, and at that point I would look for other ways for them to continue to buy from me, and stick to my North Star, stick to my jam, know what I'm good at, and not get distracted as I did before. Trying to figure things out. I would trust my gut. I say it all the time, just do you. Trust who you are, and if you follow that inner voice, not to sound all like woo-woo crazy, but we all have a gut instinct for a reason. So listen to it.
Yeah, and I think that's harder than a lot of people realize. Because then you get all these outside influences. I get them daily of whether it's old friends or previous coaches are like, hey, Josh, you're doing this. You got this GSD movement, but that's it's just in their minds they're giving me good criticism, they're constructive criticism, but it really is detracting from what I'm trying to do. So it's really important to know that internal moral compass, and it's sure. Difficult to stick with. So I love it. So all right, so like I said, a lot of our listeners are kind of in that point right now. Corporate America, they're ready to make that shift, or they've made the shift. They are an entrepreneur, but they're just struggling. They can't get that that heart pumping. Pumping that blood, right? So any last words of encouragement, any last words of inspiration? The whole GSD mode movement exists for people to go out there and create this epic life. We have such a brief existence on this planet. Blink of an eye, we're all going to be on our deathbed, and we're going to ask ourselves, what did I do with this gift called life? Did I piss it away? Or did I go out there and create this epic life that I know that I wanted and I know that I truly deserved? It's going to take work, but you can make it happen. Any last words of encouragement, inspiration to get people to go out there and just really create that life that they know they want?
Yeah, I honestly 110% believe that if you will lead your business, your life, everything with the gifts that God or the universe or whatever you want to call it gave you to serve other human beings, you're going to make money. You're going to have an epic life. You're going to get there. And this is talking, somebody that really got started behind the 8 ball. And it doesn't happen overnight. So yes, every day GSD, but know that it is a domino effect that happens over time. And the minute you give up is probably the time that you're about to break through. So don't give up. Just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it. So all right, you guys, so www.amberhurdle.com. We'll also have it in the link on the iTunes notes, website, and on YouTube. So to our listeners out there, like I end every podcast with, information without implementation is delusion. So you just heard from one of the top, branding entrepreneur coaches out there, and not just entrepreneurs, celebrities. I mean, she's works with some very, very high executive clients. So just take some of the nuggets that you heard today. It's brilliant, amazing, badass information, and start implementing. Don't just take this, file it in a drawer, and not do anything with it. Take this, take action, go out there and keep dominating, keep kicking ass. And Amber, I know your time's very valuable and limited, and I appreciate you spending this time with us, and it's been an honor, my friend.
It's been an honor to be on your show. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's everything I can do, just let me know. We're here to support in any way we possibly can, and thanks again. I really appreciate it.